Hey, what's up, guys? Coasters Worldwide here, and today I'm going to be counting down basically the top 10. Well, let me give you some backstory. Every year there's this thing called the Golden Ticket Awards where people can vote in it, like experience enthusiasts and stuff. Um, and every year they have a top 50 steel coasters and a top 50 wooden coaster list. Now, in this video, I'm going to be ranking what I think are the top 10 roller coasters in the top 50 steel coaster list. It's just going to be coasters from that list, and it does not matter where they're placed, so long as they are in the top 50. Um, so yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing. If you want to see a top 50 wood video with just the wooden coasters, because they're the same, they're a top 50 wooden coaster list as well, just tell me in the comments below, and I can make that happen. So let's get into this. First of all, let me say, okay, some of these aren't the best coasters in the world. Like, there's some insane coasters in the world which are left off of this list. Um, let me think. Such as rides like DC Rivals, for example, which is an absolutely insane coaster, which isn't on the Golden Tickets Awards. Wow, the top 50. Um, but anyway, let's get into this list. At number 10, we got Taron. Taron at Fantasyland, the Intamin Blitz coaster. This coaster is kind of like very controversial because when it came out, it was super, super highly rated. Like, people in Europe rated it like some of the best in the world, and some people still do, some Europeans still do. And then a few people from the US went out there and said, oh, it's not that good, it's not that intense, it's like more of a family coaster, some people even said. Um, yeah, now the community is pretty divided on it. Some people think it's like still an absolutely insane coaster and one of the best in the world, and some think like it's super overrated and like it wouldn't even be on this list. Personally, I'm kind of in the middle. Like, I think the people who say it's like one of the best in the world and one of the best in Europe are overrating it, but people who say it's like, oh, it's really bad, it's super overrated, I think they're just being a little bit harsh on it. Of course, it does have two launches and plenty of airtime, lots of overbanks and forceful, whippy transitions and stuff like that around the ride, which is all very cool. And yeah, it looks like an absolutely incredible coaster and one that I would really like to ride one day. Okay, coming in at number 9 is Iron Rattler at Six Flags Fiesta Texas. This is a RMC coaster, one of the first, and it utilises the Gerstlauer trains with the Gerstlauer restraints, which I've heard quite a few people prefer actually, which is quite strange, I guess. But actually, I don't know why I'm saying strange. I've not tried either of them, but it's quite strange how RMC made worse restraints on their coasters. That's what I was meaning, but whatever. Now, of course, it's got that very, very well-known drop with the, of course, it like twists halfway around, like it kind of banks a little bit. It's also really steep and really quite tall, one of the tallest RMC coasters. And then it's got the dive off the quarry wall, which looks to be the best element on the whole coaster, like absolutely insane airtime out of nowhere. It's got that one inversion, the 10G roll, and it's got plenty of airtime hills around. However, some people say this ride is like not paced very well. I see where they're coming from. However, I mean, I don't. It doesn't seem to be too much of a problem with me. But yeah, this coaster does look very good too. Number 8 is another controversial pick, which is Fury 325. Similar to Taron, this coaster is rated by some people really, really, really highly. Like, some would say it's easily the best in the world, such as Taron. And then, on the other hand, people say it's really, really weak. It's not that good of a coaster, forceless, not great airtime, whatever. I'm leaning more towards the it's not so great side, but I still think this coaster looks absolutely incredible. Like, insane drop. Of course, it's 325 feet tall. Plenty of airtime hills, lots of nice overbanks and turnaround sections. That treble clef, sorry, looks really nice too. Which is one of the main elements, one of the most photographed elements. The dive over and under the entrance to Carowinds. I've got I didn't explain. This is at Carowinds in the Carolinas, by the way. But anyway, yeah, it looks like a great coaster. Slightly overrated. That's why I didn't put it towards like higher on the list. But yeah, I still think it is a very very strong coaster. Coming in at number 7 is a coaster it's quite often compared to, which is Intimidator 305 at King's Dominion. This coaster is, wow, one of the most intense coasters in the world, especially that first turnaround after the drop. Pretty much everybody grays out on it, and often people quite often black out on it. The problem this ride has is lacking quite a bit of variety. It's just turn, 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 intensity, like really, really strong intensity, but not much else. Like, sure, it has some airtime, um, but that's about it. Like, nothing really else. It's just really forceful turns. And sure, I'm sure it's an amazing coaster and feels really out of control, but it just needs more like airtime and more different elements to truly solidify it as one of the absolute best coasters in the world. I mean, it already is one of the absolute best coasters in the world, but like up for a chance as the best coaster in the world, quite often considered. But yeah, I used to really overrate this coaster when I was quite new to coasters. However, I really don't know that anymore. I kind of rate it averagely, and I've kind of come to terms with it. Anyway, number 6 is Wicked Cyclone at Six Flags New England. This is the best RMC on the list, in my opinion. It is good. No, I'm joking. It has loads of airtime hills. That stall looks really, really cool. It's not like a proper zero G stall. However, it's like a half stall because it's not that long. But it also looks really quite whippy, which is very nice. And it's got tons of airtime, that double down, loads of overbanks. It's not too high, but it is certainly paced very well throughout the whole ride. Like, it never seems to slow down, very relentless. And yeah, this coaster looks really, really cool. Okay, so halfway through the list, coming in at number 5 is X2 at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Now, this coaster is absolutely insane. If you don't know, this is a 4D coaster where the seats rotate. It's basically just a wing coaster, but the seats rotate forward and backward in a controlled manner. Yeah, this coaster's absolutely insane. It's stupid how they didn't make it 200 feet tall, because it could have been a hyper coaster, but no, they didn't make it 200 feet. They made it just below. And also the drop isn't 90 degrees, it's like 87 or something stupid like that as well. Which, why Six Flags? But whatever. It has that really nice Raven turn, and the drop looks great too. Loads of rotating, loads of intensity, like absolutely insane. You got no idea what's going on. Very forceful, very relentless, very intense, like an absolutely insane ride. And I also find it quite hard to compare and rate to other coasters. Even without riding it, I imagine riding it would be even like harder. But yeah, it is a certainly very, very strong coaster. Okay, now this top 4 is all of these coasters in the top 4 are absolutely insane, and in the top 10 in the world, in my opinion. Okay, so coming in at number 4 is Maverick at Cedar Point. This used to be the best coaster at Cedar Point, and which is probably now taken over by Steel Vengeance. It has 2 launches, lots of sustained ejector, 2 Stengel dives, a great drop, loads of turns too, lots of turns, lots of forceful turns such as on Intimidator 305. Yeah, this ride's very comparable to Intimidator 305 on the whole. However, I think this is a bit better due to just as forceful and more airtime, and also the launch is much more variety. Probably the main downside is that inversion, as it isn't as intense as the rest of the ride. It kind of lets it down, but it still is a very, very intense coaster. Also, it's paced very well, which is also a plus. And yeah, it's a very, very cool coaster. Coming in at number 3 is Helix at Liseberg. Now, I absolutely love the look of this coaster. Like, it's got everything you would ever want in a coaster. Inversions, airtime, multiple launches, nice overbanks, nice forces, nice twistiness. And it's also relatively it's smooth, relatively well paced. And yeah, it looks like an absolutely incredible coaster. It's also got loads of landscaping, lots of, the landscape's absolutely beautiful. And it also got some decent theming. around the ride, which is always a plus. Plus the soundtrack is wow. I really like the soundtrack. One of my favourite soundtracks for any coaster actually. Um, but yeah, this coaster just looks like absolutely incredible. From people that have ridden it and I've heard from, all say it's absolutely incredible. One of the best coasters in the world and probably the best in Europe. I've heard quite a few people say. But yeah, anyway, going in at number 2 is Skyrush at Hershey Park. Um, this top 3 was very hard to make, so bear that in mind before like you say, oh well, Helix should be in ahead of this, or number 1 should have been number 2, and this should be number 1, or whatever. Um, this is my personal opinion. Number 2 is Skyrush, which opened at Hershey Park. It is of course their wing coaster, which is very different to other Intamin wing coasters, such as Furious Baco. Wow, that's the only other Intamin, but whatever. Um, yeah, the drop looks really, really cool. Not too high, but quite good ejector over that. Also, every single Hilux ride, absolutely incredible sustained ejector. People quite often compare other coasters' airtime to airtime on this coaster, which I think is definitely a compliment. But the main downside to this ride is the restraints. It's quite often nicknamed Thigh Crush because of how restricting and tight the restraints are. Um, but if people still rate it really, really high, even with terrible restraints, then it just proves how good of a coaster this really is. Also, it has some nice turns, nice positives, quite nice laterals, I've heard. And yeah, very well paced. However, it's a little bit short as well, but I don't know. That isn't that much of a takeaway. Okay, now finally, coming in at number 1 is Expedition GeForce at Holiday Park in Germany. Wow, this coaster is absolutely incredible. I've heard loads of things about it from people who have ridden it. Everybody loves it. It is, of course, an Intamin mega coaster with plenty of airtime, like airtime hills everywhere. Lots of forceful turns, lots of laterals, lots of everything you want in a coaster. Like loads of variety, very well paced, pretty long. Great drop, which looks to throw you around on that twist. And yeah, this coaster looks absolutely incredible, without a doubt, number 1 in my mind, anyway. And yeah, also I quite like the color scheme and the location of the ride. It also seems to add to the coaster and make it seem a whole lot better. Anyway, that is it for this video. Tell me if you want to see the top 50 woods. Well, if you want me to do this with wood coasters. But anyway, thank you so much for watching and see you guys later. Bye guys.